I'd now like to introduce Nancy Potok, my colleague and friend, and the former chief statistician of the United States. And she's going to talk about the paper that we jointly wrote, The Vision of Democratizing Data. Please take it away, Nancy.
Thanks very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. Our goal really in editing the Democratizing Data special issue was really to draw attention to some very concrete successes, to document some key lessons learned from a high-profile pilot project that was conducted, and to sketch a future agenda to build on those successes. So I want to spend a few minutes and kind of walk through how we got here and why it's important. I think everybody knows that we are really saturated with a lot of information, and that much of it's collected and held by the private sector. And, the private sector really transforms the data into valuable assets, but it's primarily for their own purposes. And for us here, many of us here anyways, today, we know that there's an urgent need for society's future, really, and that a lot of data is produced by researchers and government agencies, and that could be transformed into valuable assets for the public good. Now, a lot of it already is transformed into assets for the public good, but there's a lot more we could do to make that more efficient. And we have a huge ecosystem right now where different parts of government and users have come together to put all of these pieces together to build a foundation. So we've got the Foundations of Evidence-Based Policy Making Act, the CHIPS and Science Act. We have a federal data strategy, lots of OMB guidance, frameworks from GAO and NIST, particularly focusing on AI, lots of executive orders now. We have the data owners who are primarily the producers and the agencies. We've got infrastructure owners and the users inside and outside of government, and lots of stakeholders who care about the outcomes of this. So I won't spend a lot of time going through the guidance that's out there, but it's been, there's a long history of really the federal government, at least, trying to get agencies to collaborate, to use their data more effectively, and to interact with the users. And now, in the last 4 years, we've really gotten a lot of executive orders that have come out that are focused on AI, and that really are starting to push agencies to be more proactive, particularly in terms of platforms and tools and access to data. And, in particular, the executive order that came out last October mandated the National Artificial Intelligence Research Resource, or the NARE, as an infrastructure for AI. And we've got infrastructure and tools needs that have been identified in the Evidence-Based Policy Making Commission recommendations in the report that really happened during 2016 and 2017. And then, of course, in the Foundations for Evidence-Based Policymaking Act in 2018, the Evidence Act. But one of the things that's a very important point to make here is that the infrastructure and the tools need to be community-driven, and they need to produce information that's valued and used by the community. And that's what democratizing data is all about, is really building community, increasing access to the data, and driving the creation of the infrastructure and the tools that are most useful to the data users. And the users can then give important feedback and make connections with the producers of the data, as Xiao Li said in his example. So, we had, coming out of the Evidence Act, a National Advisory Committee report, was the Advisory Committee on Data for Evidence Building that was established in the Evidence Act. And the focus on that report was on infrastructure and tools and a national secure data service, which was one of the recommendations in the Evidence Act. Oops, sorry, I'm going backwards. And the committee got a lot of input from the public to inform the advisory committee, and came up with a vision where the National Secure Data Service could, among other things, be a coordinating data hub and sort of bring research nodes together. But of course, to do that, you need tools, you need communications, you need people to be able to find each other and to share their research and to have a way to curate and kind of be a concierge to all the data that's out there and all the work that's going on, in a way for the agencies to tie into that. The CHIPS and Science Act established a pilot project for a National Secure Data Service, put NSF, the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics, as the program manager for making that happen. We've seen that move forward under the guidance of OMB and the Interagency Council on Statistical Policy. And we've also seen the NAIR move forward. And what's really essential and very exciting is that we're starting to see some bridge building between these infrastructures, the National Secure Data Service and the NAIR. And for those of you who were at the May 2nd AI for Federal Agencies event, you may have heard some folks from those two communities talking about how they were working to establish bridges and work together. So let's talk about the vision here. The vision is to improve the practice of both government policy and research by providing evidence about how data sets are used and building an ecosystem of agencies and researchers and other stakeholders, so that there's a commitment to revealing the value of the data and evidence through the creation of evidence and use in collaborative communities. Because what is the point of creating all that data unless there's access to it and it's being used by the community in meaningful ways to advance good information about public policy? So that brings us to the platform, which is a focus of the issue, among other things, but this really is kind of the pilot project for this particular search and discovery approach that identifies how the data are being used, by whom it's being used, and what topics are being studied. So there's a lot of information about how the pilot took place, what is sort of the technical infrastructure there that allows this to happen using machine learning and other types of advanced technology techniques. And then how is that information being used? Once that metadata is put together, once it's in a dashboard, once the agencies have it and users can see it, how is that being used to build community? And what is a vision for the future? So just a word before we hear more about this, how the platform came to be. It didn't happen as a single event. It wasn't, it was a really collaborative effort. I mean, Congress was really driving evidence building. The philanthropic community, who you'll hear from, really believed in this early on and put a lot of investment into it. There was a tangible use case and early engagement and investment by 4 statistical agencies who really became the basis of the pilot. And then, of course, a lot of research. And it was a very collaborative research effort. A whole team came together, but it was led by NYU. And I would be remiss if I did not point out that the visionary behind this and the person without whom none of this would have occurred
And I'm
is
going to shut you up here.
my co-editor, Julia Lane, who's about to stop me, but I'm really at my last slides here, so I will finish up. So we're at a crucial turning point. The community really has to be galvanized, and we have to work together and really jump in. This is not sort of something that's served up and one and done, but really requires people to jump in and build on this and to add to it and improve as we go along. And I think the future is bright. So the special issue
Nancy,
article, yes.
you're going to have to stop, and we're going to have to move over to the philanthropists.
This is my last slide.
Sorry, the stat agencies.
So yeah, so the special issue shows how the agencies, the researchers, the stakeholders, and the policymakers have all gotten involved with this. And our next up